Between my work life, my personal life, and my home life, there's a lot of places where I need to tie knots. And I want to share one of those knots with you today to help you tie a sling. This can be a very useful thing. See? Now, in preparation for this video, I wanted to make sure that my terminology was right. Even though I tie this knot a lot, I referenced a few books here. One of them is Mountaineering Freedom of the Hills. This used to be like the gold standard for looking up things like this. I also referenced How to Climb. This is a very good book. And I would say that the description and the pictures in this book are probably the best out of these, specifically for this knot. And I also jumped back in time to my climbing merit badge from the Boy Scouts. This knot can be called the grapevine knot. It can be called the double fisherman's knot, and it can be called the barrel knot. Whatever you call it, doesn't matter. This is how we tie it. Stop, stop, stop. Before I go any further, I want to just talk about cutting the rope and how much rope you might need to use like a sling, a utility sling around the house. All right, so you don't have to get this specific rope, but this is a static climbing rope. It's going to be super strong, and this is what I'm using. I'm replacing these slings with, and this is going to be generally used as organizing things or tying things off. I find that you need about 6 to 7 feet of rope. Works really well for a sling, so I'm going to pull this out. That's about 6 feet. I'm going to go a little bit further. There we go. Perfect. So that's how much rope I want to use to create my sling. That actually might be a little bit too much. Go a little bit shorter. Now, let's get into how I've found the easiest way to cut this rope is to make it super clean without having a fancy rope cutter. Once you know about where you're going to cut your rope, I like to take some electrical tape and wrap that up. That's going to keep the fibers together really nicely. You don't need a lot of tape, but you want to get it as tight as you can. Okay, so that's going to hold those fibers tight. Can you see how that's pinching together right there? It's holding those fibers tight. Put it down on a nice dirty workbench that's made out of wood like this one. This looks really dirty, but it's actually fairly clean. And take a nice sharp razor blade and then just work that through. Now, without that electrical tape on there, these fibers would have already started separating out and it would have been a lot more messy. But because that electrical tape is pinching everything together, it's nice and solid. Before we pull that electrical tape off, we're going to take a lighter and we are going to melt the ends. We are going to take that electrical tape off, but we want to get a little bit of melt on the ends to hold that together. Now it's nice and glossy. We can take this tape off. One side is easier than the other. Where are you? Get off. There we go. Whoa. See, we pulled our fibers out a little bit. So let's go ahead and melt that some more. Nice, that's looking good. Ooh. Look, guys, I work really hard, all right? I have permanent grease underneath my fingernails. I have dirt embedded in my skin. Just be gentle, okay? All right, so the same thing. Now let's see if we can use the end of our utility knife to just kind of peel that off. Beautiful. Again, now that the electrical tape is off, we're going to go and melt it a little bit more. All right, all of those ends are together. They're not going to be fraying out. That's very warm. Be careful not to burn yourself. Okay, that's looking beautiful. Moving on. All right, to minimize the distraction while I'm teaching you about this knot, I went ahead and covered up my beautiful workbench and put rubber gloves on my hands so the permanently embedded dirt from working hard is not distracting you. Go ahead and leave the thumbs up down below and comment. Now, when you're tying a sling, you obviously want to take the same piece of rope and tie the two ends together. But in order to help teach you how to tie this knot, I'm going to use two different ropes, and we're just going to pretend like this is the same rope. So you can see what's going on here. You're going to take one end of your rope and your other end, cross them like this. Now we're going to go to one side. Pass it underneath. Let me pull some slack. Okay. There we go. It's a good shot. Now you're going to go back over, underneath. Now we're going to go over our strands and through this hole. Just like that. Now we're going to tighten this down. The top should look like an X. The back should look like two parallel ropes. We're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Make sure we have enough tail. So we go over. Okay. Let's get that beautiful shot. We're going to do it again. Now we're going to go through. And then just tighten it down. Same way that we tightened it down before. Depending on how much tail you have over here, you can slide the knot this way or you can slide the knot back. Again, cross on the top, parallel on the back. One last step, and that is to pull the two knots together. Now, as you use this, this gets tighter and tighter. It tightens down on itself. This is a fantastic knot to use to create your sling. We're going to go ahead and tie this knot one more time, but not on the bench. I'm just going to show you how I tie it standing up. Obviously, this is how I always tie it. I don't tie it over a bench. So I take my two ends of my sling. So here's my sling that I'm creating. I'm going to take these ends and I'm going to cross them over like so. And I'm just going to go around it once, around it twice, and then through the hole. And this is really make sure that you have the X on the top and the parallel on the back. If you don't, then you either did one less wrap or one extra wrap. One extra wrap isn't going to hurt you. One less wrap, it's not going to be as strong as it should be. Okay, I'm going to Now do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to make sure that I got plenty of tail because we can always dress it down later on. So I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to wrap it around once. So there's once. Here is twice. And I'm going to go through. And I want to have just an inch, about an inch of tail. So I'm going to pull that way. Now the fun part, cinching it down like this. And that is about perfect for the size of sling that I want to have for the work that I do. Sometimes I want it a little bit bigger than that, but this is usually about perfect. Now that we have this sling, let me show you some of the things that I use it for. And I just will have a bunch of these laying around. You can girth hitch it around tools or around power cords or hoses like this. And a girth hitch, all it is you're gonna, let me take this off and I'll use the one that we just created. You're gonna go around it like this, and then you're gonna take one of the sides through the other side, boom. Now you have something super fast, super easy that you can hang stuff up with, keep things not messy and a little bit more organized. That's one of the things that you can do. Another thing that we can use these for is a Persic knot or a clem heist knot. Now a clem heist you're going to use more with webbing, so a Persic knot is going to be more with a sling like this, and that is for an adjustable knot. Say I want to have a grab knot, I want to grab onto something. Now I typically don't put a Persic knot on a bar, but for video demonstrations I'm going to show you. Normally you're going to put this on, like I use this a lot at work for power cables, these massive power cables that we're dragging up buck hoists, and they need to be quickly adjusted. So it works great for that purpose, but it's also going to work for other things. I use it in the climbing world a lot as well. So it's the same thing as a girth hitch, except we're going to wrap it a couple more times. So if I just put it through once, that's a girth hitch. However, if I do it more, and when I'm using a power cord, I only do it twice because it's already grippy, but you typically will do 3 wraps for a Persic knot, and then you want to make sure that that's dressed down nicely so it's going to be able to grip properly, so everything is laying together. Okay, pull that tight. Now that should lock down. That's going to lock down on that. And even though this is a bar and it's not going to allow this to bite down into each other like it would if it was rope or something softer, it's still going to have that mechanical advantage where it's starting to bind down on it and it's not going to slide. So that's going to be nice and solid. I can pull on it really hard and it's not moving. However, as soon as I loosen that up, I can flip this tab right here. Whoop. See, it's super, super adjustable. And when it bites down, it bites down. But we can adjust it really fast and it's nice and solid. So there's a couple of ways that you can use a sling. They're super handy. Go ahead and tie some. Comment down below on where you can use these slings, and I will see you next time right here on Climber Dad.